All right, welcome to Matrix Lab Studios. This is one of our first podcasts we're recording, and today's topic is on mental health. I'm here with my friend Ahmed, and we are going to be covering a topic and subject of mental health.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ahmed. So what does mental health mean to you?
It means a lot of things to me, actually. It's not anything in particular or like one specific thing. If I could put it into one thing, it would be experience.
Oh, yeah.
Experience ties in with knowledge
Yeah.
and understanding.
Yeah. I mean, for me, honestly, like mental health, do you have healthy coping mechanisms? Do you, when problems arise, right? How do you react to a problem in life, right? What's, what's, you know, what's the future of this problem gonna be, right? So someone said, you know, imagine having to pick up a weight, holding a grudge. And you hold another grudge. And you hold another grudge. Right? That's so much excessive weight. Why would you put yourself through that? Right? It's letting go. Letting go of your past, of your mistakes. You know. I made plenty of mistakes. You know. What else? Is out there?
Would I be able to ask you like what mental health means to you?
I mean, for me, like I don't know, it's peace of mind, right? I I I'm Muslim, right? And I'm told not to fall in love with this life because it's only temporary, right?
Yes.
But at the end of the day, you want you want to find you want to find your happiness, you want to find your peace, right? You want to you want to be able to be comfortable in life, right? Yeah. Luckily, I was I was given many second chances,
Can
right?
I check some of the?
Go ahead.
Would you be comfortable sharing a personal experience or challenge that you faced with mental health, and how did you overcome it?
Honestly, I have many challenges, like for example, I remember back in 2021, my buddy, he goes to Trent up in Peterborough.
Okay.
He lives in Res there, and I don't know, it was a strange night because he calls me out of the blue, right? And he has a strange tone to him, right? And my dumbass, I was smoking weed at the moment. I was just like, "Hey, what's up, buddy?" I didn't even think nothing of it. And he wanted to assure me that he loves me and he wishes all the best for me. And he just said goodbye,
Yeah.
and it made me confused as hell. And the fact that I was inebriated, made it all the more worse, right? And I'm like, what the hell? Was he about to off himself right there? I hit up his roommates, right? I try to get a hold of them, right? And they're like, yeah, he's not here or anything. What the hell, right? I hit up more roommates of his. I hit up everyone I knew that went to school with him. You know, no one could get a hold of him, right? And then I called my other friend. We were a trio, right? Called my other friend. I just said like, yo, I just got this phone call from him. Like, we gotta go check it out. Although it's a 2-hour drive, I was willing to do that. I wanted to go get him. Go talk him out of it. You know, it stinks to have a phone call like that. About a month, like,
That's very understandable.
yeah, this was my childhood friend
How long have you known this friend?
since, I would like to say, since middle school. And like we did everything together. We it's tough, right? Few weeks pass, he didn't go through with it, thankfully.
When did he get back to you?
Luckily, he didn't really get back to me, right? But he was talked out of it by a stranger who was there on the bridge, I guess. I don't know all the details. I didn't want to put him through that again, right? So I didn't want to, push anything. I don't want to open any Pandora boxes.
Yeah.
But aside from that, he takes a trip to Turkey. He has a good time. I pick him up from the airport later that summer, and what do you call? Yeah, he holds grudges. I could tell. And then I'm at his house, and he snaps at me over the dumbest thing, right? I'm like, okay, then I'm leaving for now.
Peace of mind. I remember
Yeah,
you
yeah.
saying that earlier.
I left his house. I'm not, I owe him nothing. He owes me nothing, right?
Yeah.
But it was clear that we were done being friends at that moment. Not even a month passes by, I went into a serious car accident. Right, I ended up being arrested that night because I was inebriated in the car. Although the accident wasn't my fault, I was, I admitted to the officer, like, hey, I was drinking. You know, it was a tough night for me. That very night, I messaged him, wanting to spill my guts, because I was having the same type of thoughts that night. No reply. And that's hard. That's hard. Because even if he were to hit me up within 5 minutes, even if he were to call me right now, I would pick up, you know?
I could share a couple personal experiences of mine in similar aspects of life when it comes to like mental health, friends. I also want to specify that addiction is definitely a very major aspect and field of mental health. It deeply ties into mental health, and I struggle with it, with nicotine.
Yeah. You telling me?
Yeah. And I've had friends reach out to me, and unfortunately, there were many fortunate times where I could help people, but the older and older I get, the more and more experiences I learn, especially the repetitive ones. I'm trying to heal from a lot of things while also trying to focus on my goals and dreams, because the more healed I am, it makes it easier for me to focus on those goals and dreams. When I'm trying to help certain individuals who would approach me for mental health, it would I would do my level best to remove any biased or stereotype suggestions, because I don't judge. Maybe I tend to subconsciously do judge, and that is something that I'm actively working on every single day. I think a lot of the judgments do come from certain experiences I've had. I remember one time I was staying at a shelter, and there was an individual telling me that he wanted to end his life, kill himself, and I was in already such a low place myself, where it's like I felt pretty terrible, but I also felt like I didn't have it in me to put in the extra effort, or go the extra mile to like take it on upon myself, and okay, look, I'm gonna help you, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that. And through time, this person and me, like, a big suggestion I would give to people, like, for mental health is exercise, working out. And
Definitely.
it's, when it comes to addictions and habits, a big aspect that I've learned about habits is that you cannot eliminate habits. You can only replace them.
Oh yeah.
So there is a book that I would strongly recommend. It's called Atomic Habits. It covers the 4 fundamental laws backed by science and research, the laws of habit change. And I've been trying to implement those 4 laws into my life. Maybe in a later podcast we can dive deeper into the book. But yeah, I think isolating yourself is very dangerous. I'm guilty of isolating myself during very dire moments of my mental health. My self-esteem is incredibly low, and it's mainly when I'm alone and I'm not taking the initiative to reach out to certain people.
I know how it
Yeah,
feels.
like,
No, I honestly do, right? And especially, right, when you've gone through terrible things and then someone else tells you another terrible thing, and you know, it's tough. It's tough.
what would be some common misconceptions you want to address about mental health, if you have any?
It's not as easy to shrug off as people think, right? Some people say, like, there are people drowning in an ocean, and there are people that could drown in a puddle, you know? Like, I don't want to say I'm drowning in an ocean, right?
Mm-hmm.
There are people around the world, in much more terrible situations at the end of the day, right?
Oh yeah.
And you shouldn't compare at the end either, but aside from that, right? You can't you can't discredit someone else's emotions, right? If someone were to, vent to you, you should see that as a means of, like, trust, you know?
Oh yeah.
You
And
know?
in today's society, I do know, and with certain individuals, they'll look at that and take it for granted in very various forms.
They'll stab you in the back. They'll make fun of you for it. They'll, like,
You said it all.
yeah,
On point.
yeah, you know.
Have you experienced that yourself?
Oh, of course, right? Like, I was arrested for talking too much, right? Um, yeah, but that's another story. Aside from that, like, it's just society, It's, like, no one person is better than the next. You gotta treat everyone with the same respect, you know.
Like human beings.
Yeah, I I I've, I've gone through the shits, my friend. Like, I've been fired from jobs. I've been misinterpreted. I've been, you know, I've been through it all, right? I have judgments, right? And the majority of the time they're correct, right?
Do you believe those judgments you have, they come from experiences that
Yeah.
you've had?
Yeah, yeah.
I
You
can
know,
relate to that.
yeah. Like, for example, right? Like, I don't have a trust in millennials too much, right? I don't find them that decent of, people, because the time they grew up in, everything was everything was, all right to say, slurs, you know, mental health slurs, they would, homophobic slurs even, you know. I mean, yeah, you can go ahead and say it, right? Nothing would happen to you. You have freedom of expression, right? But are you not decent enough to appreciate this is another soul you're speaking about or speaking to? You know? Are you not decent? You know? I understand you grew up in a different time, right? But, do you not do you not have like do you not see me as another human, you know? Like you're supposed to be slightly older than me, right? Someone I should respect and, you know, care about. It doesn't go both ways, sadly.
How do you manage stress and maintain your mental well-being on a daily basis? What role does self-care play in your mental health routine, and what does self-care look like for you?
Yeah. Honestly, just, you know, take a shower, have a walk, you know, take a walk, have a shower, you know, get, you know, like, it's not the end of the world at the end of the day, right? You gotta remember that, you know. People make mistakes all the time, you know. So find yourself some healthy dopamine, one that isn't harmful to your body, right? I was an alcoholic for a long time, right? Right? At 22, I gotta say that, right? I was an alcoholic, you know, but that wasn't the method that you should use, right? I was a huge stoner as well, right? Like, it's not the correct way to go about your life anymore, right? Like, you gotta lock in, I guess, you know? Yeah, just some of my thoughts. How about you?
For me, thank you for asking. For me, I would say I can certainly like over 100% agree with you on the healthy coping mechanisms, because it's cheap dopamine nowadays, especially in modern society. It's so easy to come across, and
Yeah,
it's so easy to get hooked onto, and
it's
you
useless.
from the phones to liquor shops, cannabis,
Yep.
vapes.
Mm-hmm.
No, not many people want to go and drop down and just start doing push-ups or
Right.
going into the gym and lifting weights. It's, I know, expensive dopamine,
Mm-hmm.
difficult, hard, and expensive dopamine is more beneficial, more powerful in your life, and it is certainly something everyone should look into
Right.
to implement in their own daily lives. It's
No, definitely.
even for me, like my experience of going to the gym consistently. Right now, I haven't been consistent with it, and it is actually taking a toll on my mental health.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
that is something that I've suggested to many individuals who approach me with concerns for their mental health and well-being.
Right.
It's exercise, moving your body around,
Mm-hmm.
getting out into nature,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and limit the excuse, oh, I don't have a gym. Your body is one of the best weights you have, and you can
Yeah.
actually train every part of your body with just your body weight.
Oh yeah.
It's
It's important to remember. Of
oh yeah,
course. Of course.
absolutely.
But like, so there's obviously boundaries, right? You gotta make. But like, how do you set boundaries? You know, in professional settings or personal settings, right? Do you have any
Yeah.
methods?
Um I'm really glad you asked me that question. Thank you for asking me that one.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when it comes to setting boundaries,
Mm-hmm.
that's something I've struggled with my whole life. It's
Uh-huh.
cost me a lot.
Oh yeah.
I I don't beat myself up over this, but at 21,
Mm-hmm.
I'm in I'm here in college. I should have been here at 17, 18. That's actually a
Mm-hmm.
wrong way to think of it, because now I'm
Mm-hmm.
putting unnecessary, unhealthy pressure on myself
Yep.
of things that aren't within my control. You have to focus on the things that are within your control. And when
Yeah.
it comes to setting boundaries, that is definitely something that is within your control. And
Right.
at times where I lacked self-esteem and my self-esteem was diminished, it was like
Mm-hmm.
non-existent. I would struggle to say no to people. I would always be the first one running around, eager to lend a helping hand when I couldn't even help myself. I was filling people's empty cups. I was really filling them up when I ain't have a full cup myself. And I think the setting boundaries, just quickly wrap it up, is
It's difficult.
yeah. And with addiction, it's a big one. Like I will ask friends and people who are close to me to not engage in certain behaviors or activities that I have a strong desire to get into. For example, smoking cannabis, vaping. These are things that I am committing to stay away from.
Oh, definitely.
And what would your experience be with setting boundaries? How would you go about it in your daily life?
Personally, right? Like, it's hard to just, tell you how to do that, right? But I can look back at, like I said, I have some weariness about millennials, right? So I was like a lot of like, they would call me out, right? And they would say like, stop harassing me. And
Really?
that's such a strong word for us.
These are coworkers?
Like coworkers, teachers, you name it, right? Like that's such a strong word for us, not as strong as for them because they grew up where that was stop harassing, like, oh, you know what I mean?
I remember a couple experiences in elementary like this,
Yeah.
but I could say honestly, I was guilty of like I was a troublemaker.
Yeah, me
My
too.
ADHD, it
Right?
was wild, and I didn't understand it. And
Yeah.
to this day, I'm very big on knowledge and wisdom, and knowledge is
Right.
it's very important.
It's heavy to be accused of something like that, right? Because like that's not me, right? Like why would you put me in that kind of category and to begin with, right? Like
And
I
these are particularly individuals that you would
yeah,
look up to in a sense, but
you know,
then you can't.
you can't, right? Like that's the issue about it, right? Like you don't like, like us at our I touched the mic. Us at our generation, like we consider it a heavy word, right? But you know, it's it's strange to think about, right? Like I remember, like I had to page someone, saying like, "Don't say that about me, please." Like, like I've had to yell at people. I've had to, I've been like,
If you're okay to share, like,
okay, sure.
what was something that was said about you that was
Yeah. I mean, there's a more recent one, and like you said, there was once in middle school, right? Like, there was. I grew up. I went to a private school, right? And over there, they have no like really regard for what's considered troublesome and what's not, right? They just act like your parents, right? Because they don't really have like the public board and opinion and such, right? So I was in probably grade 7, right? And I was following around my boy. He has a sister in grade 6, right? So we go into the grade 6 class. My mom packed me a banana, and I'm a child at the time, and I'm pointing the banana around people at school, right? And there was another girl in the class. Like I was maybe like across the room, if not halfway across the room.
just to clarify, this was in elementary?
Yeah, I was 7th grade. This
Oh,
was the
okay.
grade below, right? Because it was a small school at the end of the day, right? A week later, me and my friends get called into the office being accused of sexual harassment. Like what? Like that was such a scar in my life, right? And like I said, it was such a small school, so it had a very large community in a way, right? So everyone heard the buzz about this boy sexually harassing another student. And it wasn't until that me and my friends and that girl were in the office and we were being threatened, with police and whatnot, that she actually thought like, yo, what was this? What were they up to? You know, it didn't turn into that until it was, brought to light, right? That was the only reason it turned even into that. And it stunk to think back on, right? Yeah. But I'm at peace with my past, honestly. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the ability to put in the effort and work on making peace with your past is very critical and important to maximize the level of reflection you can have and appreciate how far you've come. I was repeatedly told by staff at one of the shelters that I had stayed at that you you need to show yourself gratitude for the things you've overcome because you've overcome a lot. And some of the things for me was a major thing was it was addiction, and I struggled with it. And
Mm-hmm.
a lot of these things I confess to God, and I'm very careful with how I disclose a lot of the information. And I think a lot of my close buddies, they're very aware and familiar with a lot of the things that I wouldn't be comfortable sharing online.
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess my next question would be, how do you recognize when you're struggling with mental health, and what are some steps you take to address it?
Steps, there's no one size fits all for everyone, right? You know, uh, I'm not sure. I mean, the steps you gotta take is that you gotta look back and you gotta stay focused on yourself, right? You gotta you gotta push forward, you know, because there's nothing, your mental health will go up and down all the time, you know. You gotta deal with the lows to achieve the highs, right? But other than that, you gotta keep trying, You gotta keep fighting for yourself,
Would you say like the experience of the lows have made you the incredible human being you are today?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I watch what I say. I don't, I don't bother anyone, I don't I don't even like intoxicate myself anymore because of all the hard lessons I've had. Every it's hard. It's hard, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Someone shared something important with me.
Mhm.
Actually, many people have shared this with me, to focus on one thing at a time. And when it comes to mental health, like I feel like I'm always all over the place. I'm trying to do school. I'm trying to manage my company, my business for photography, videography. Next thing, I'm trying to manage posts and upload content. Now I'm here doing a podcast with you, and
Mhm.
I think embracing a lot of these challenges that I've faced has certainly helped. I had to learn how to embrace it, especially things that I have experienced in the past before. They become a little simpler. Like when you hear certain strangers who know little to nothing about you, and they're chit chatting, talking shit about you because they've heard something from someone else, and the way it affects my mental health to this day is very different than what it used to be.
Yep.
And I would quickly be looking for the unhealthy coping mechanisms because they were so easy to access. And now now I'm striving and eagerly looking to head into the gym, talk with new people, and get newer perspectives on life.
Oh yeah. So, just thinking about that, right? Like one of my father's longtime friends, he once told me, if I can give you a piece of advice, is just to put on your blinders, right? If you're headed somewhere, you don't let the worldly distractions distract you, right? Don't let other people's comments, thoughts,
Is it like the
whatever.
perspective staying in your lane?
Not even like staying in your lane is more like, don't get into things that shouldn't, you shouldn't be getting
Okay.
into,
I'm
right?
I'm very guilty of doing
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I mean, mind your business, of course, right? But don't give anyone anything. Don't put yourself down at all. I used to be a downer. I used to call myself stupid. Like,
Oh,
I used to, think I was like,
be hard on yourself.
yeah, I wasn't smart enough to continue my education. I wasn't the smart. I was like the lowest of the class. Like there's a lot of things, right? But you need to put it out there to believe it, right? And when you put that you are dumb or ugly or anything like that, you're going to believe it and you're going to live like that. Like no, you shouldn't, right? It's your attitude that's what's going to take you places in life, right?
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Mentally handicapped, even blind, deaf, like if you have the attitude to succeed and you have the vibrations of connecting well with others, like that reflects your life. That reflects in your life.
That's certainly something that I've
Yeah.
been trying to implement more in my life, and
Right.
I I believe I'm making progress with it.
Yeah.
My mental health when it comes to day-to-day living, I would say at when I'm alone, I'm isolated in my room alone, that's where it's the worst.
Mm-hmm.
And keeping that positive attitude has always helped me do everything that you or those around me in the world see me do.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm certainly very hard on myself. And one thing I could say for being hard on yourself, if you are someone who's hard on yourself, and like me, I believe it's good only when you do it in a healthy way,
Yeah.
because it's very easy to be hard on yourself in an unhealthy way, down yourself, talk bad about yourself, and
Because
feel incapable.
you
But
will.
when you can when you push yourself past your limits, and
Yeah.
you take all the experiences, everything you've been through, and
Mm-hmm.
decide that it's enough, and I'm going to I'm going to take the initiative to learn and master certain realms of life,
Oh yeah.
such as mental health. I think the last thing I'll share before we jump on to the next question is, someone did tell me, like, you cannot micromanage every aspect of your life.
Oh yeah.
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 And you just gotta, I guess, pick and choose the areas that you strongly want to focus on, or have a desire to overcome and achieve.
Okay. So like, what's your advice to someone, you know, who you see yourself in, maybe even younger than you, right? What's your advice to them? Like, what do you want them to to remember,
There's something very big I go by is be a creator rather than a consumer. The
Oh,
world's full of consumption, and
yeah.
consuming is very easy to do. And I think one thing I would strongly advise the younger audiences who choose to watch this is, be a creator, create, learn,
Mhm.
never ever stop learning, because when you stop learning, your mind stops evolving. And when you're just consuming and doing things repetitively, it takes a toll on your mental health. I do believe certain people, I'm one of these certain people who have to learn the hard way. I need to experience a great deal of suffering and a level of trauma that doesn't take a toll on my mental health, but pushes me enough to take action against what I'm experiencing.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's experience will be different, and everyone's level and tolerance of what they can handle will be different.
Oh,
So I would say it is very important to know what you can handle, know the things that affect it, like make sure your eating and sleeping habits are on point. These things
yeah.
definitely affect your mental health a great deal. Sleeping on time, making sure you're eating 2 to 3 meals a
Yeah.
day, like staying
Sure.
full and not neglecting your diet.
Yep.
Your gut actually ties 70% into your mental health. It's a thing that a lot of people don't actually know. And
Yep.
just educate, knowledge and wisdom.
See,
Anything you want to do, you have the knowledge and wisdom for it. You can't just have it. You have to learn it somewhere, whether it's from experience or the three pillars of learning. Are you a visual learner, hands-on?
yeah. Yeah. No, definitely. It's a good point to have, right? I don't really have too much, you know. I don't have a lot to just, mental health can't just be summed up into a few like words, but
Oh yeah.
of course not, right? But like I said, right, like turn on your blinders, what do you want to achieve? What do you want to get, in life, out of this life? And, you know, anything is possible, right? Like, if you ever think about it, like, here's a story. The Colonel Sanders, right, had an amazing chicken recipe. It wasn't until he was in his 50s that he started a restaurant and it blew up and it was purchased by Pepsi for multi-billion dollars. He was 50 years old at the end of the day, you know?
Yeah, I'm quite
It's
familiar with the
never
story.
it's never too late. It's never too late, all right? For anything that you want to achieve, right?
Oh yeah.
It's never going to be too late.
You know, there was a really good adult I was working with back when I was in the shelter. I picked up a cleaning job, and we were in charge of cleaning out a entire apartment. 45-year-old guy, really cool. He shared a lot of life experiences with me, and he did tell me the thing with it's never too late. It's very true and it's good, but for certain individuals, maybe I believe he was saying just the world in general. Like one day it will be too late. Never wait. My opinion on that is I can agree with that. I can agree with that to a very realistic degree. It's never too late is very important to keep in your mind,
Yep.
but also that
You know.
life isn't promised tomorrow. The only thing certain in life is death, and don't wait for it to be too late.
All right.
The best time is always now
Oh
to do things.
yeah.
And I would love to ask you, like, how would you go about supporting individuals, loved ones, and the people you care about when it comes to mental health and well-being?
You have to reassure people like, hey, you need to become at peace, right? You can't keep bottling it up because eventually a bottle bursts, you know? The bottle will definitely burst, and I've been guilty of letting my bottle burst many times at, the dumbest things, right? But why? You're gonna you know, you shouldn't let,
Is it like an anger outburst?
yeah,
I'm guilty of that too.
yeah, you know,
I
it's
know a
hard.
lack of sleep. drugs, like
Mhm.
various things like
Mhm.
played a role in it. Relationships was a big one. Love, like
Like,
I would say love is certainly the major experience of my mental health and well-being, because the way I was addicted and hooked onto the love, I'm still to this day trying to have that same level in love, that feeling for myself, and hold on to that for the rest of my life.
I know how it feels, right? Like, I don't like to gossip. I don't like to make my friends feel embarrassed. I don't like to make anyone feel embarrassed because I was on the receiving end of those, right? So, I've been there, done that, sure, all right? I haven't done everything in the world. I haven't been everywhere in the world, right? And there's so much world to explore,
Absolutely.
and some people, there's a saying that,
You want to travel the world one day?
of course, right? Who doesn't, right? You you gotta shoot for the moon, and if you don't make it there, at least you land on one of the stars.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, that's my advice to everyone, right? Like, okay, you may not become a lawyer, all right, but you can be the hundred other like jobs available for law,
We're almost wrapped up here for
Yeah.
our podcast.
Sweet.
I think we got like one or two more questions left.
Mhm. Yeah, like I said, shoot for the moon. If you can't make it, at least you land on one of the stars.
Earlier, I remember we were discussing a bit about how social media and phones, and it is like one of the second last questions, like what role do you think social media and technology play in mental health, the positives and the negatives of it? Because there is certainly a positive aspect of it. I do believe social media is a tool, and that's exactly what I'm trying to leverage it as. Only a tool. It's not. You need to use it very carefully, let alone the phones. Phones' purposes have grown
Extremendously.
Like now you got, yeah, now so much has changed.
Every celebrity death, you know about every like news coverage and every,
You see so much desensitizing things online
brain
visually.
rot, just over consumerism, right? Like, there's so many people that are famous for all the wrong reasons, right? And then, it makes you insecure at the end of the day as well, because you see these people and they're living such an extravagant life, although probably 99% of them are faking it, right? In this world, all these big creators,
And that affects people who
It
are
does.
genuinely suffering from it,
yeah,
who are actually experiencing those things.
exactly, right? And, like, I once saw someone say, like, I feel like the hottest person whenever I walk into a Walmart. And that just goes to show, right? Like, you shouldn't compare yourself to social media. You should be like, this is the world around you right now, Like, you're beautiful in day-to-day life,
Something I'll share with that one is like
You know?
comparing yourself. There's another big thing I also go by is I always like to compare myself to who I was yesterday. No, nothing else. I'm not in competition with anybody except myself, and self-improvement, becoming better than the person I was yesterday.
Yeah. Just like my friend that I broke it off with, right? He always had an insecurity about his weight, right? He was a much heavier fella, right? And he always used to tell me like, "Damn, like I wish I had your body structure and such." I'm like, "Okay,
That's interesting.
okay." And I tell him, "But would you trade your height for my height?" And then he sat and thought about it, because I'm like 5 foot, like something, 5'2", 5'3", right? Like, would you trade your height for my body frame, right? And he sat and he thought about it, and I'm like, yo, this is a big lesson. Like, nobody's freaking perfect.
Yeah,
Everyone has an insecurity about themselves.
I love
right?
I love how you said that.
You know? he was always jealous of his buddies, right? Because like whenever we walked around, right, I was significantly like more trim than him, right? And he was always jealous of that, you know.
I'm guilty of doing what your friend has done too. Cause me, I I struggle to put on weight. I struggle to eat consistently.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, like I see people who are able to put on so much weight where they wish they could be like me. I wish I could be like them. And
It's
yeah,
hard. It's hard, right? Like, like you don't know, right? You don't know. It just goes to show, right? Like, like you ever hear about the stories of a monkey paw, right?
no, you got to tell me this one.
So the monkey paw stories, it's like what's your true desires? And when you have the monkey paw, I don't know if the monkey shows up or anything, right? But like,
Is it a physical like
no,
object?
it's like it's a folk story. It's a folk tale,
Okay.
right? So the monkey paw is granting wishes for people, right? I want to be irresistible to women, right? And yeah, you're irresistible to every woman in the world. But this trade-off was your sex drive was completely diminished. Your all your chemicals of romance and everything, and everything about it was diminished. But now you're irresistible to women. So was it really a good trade-off? No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. Right?
So, in what ways do you believe that we can normalize talking about mental health in today's society?
Yeah. Honestly, there's no one answer because everyone's different at the end of the day. Um, I mean, you can't, it will never be normal, right, to express yourself, because especially as males, it's harder, right? But, there's times where you could trust another fellow person, can you work it into your life? Can you make your life seem that like, I have my ups and downs and that's completely normal. It's okay to be sad, it's okay, but can you when you talk about it, could you really stick to advice of others? Can you really listen and find solutions at the end of the day? How about you? How do you normalize it?
Thank you for asking me. I believe to like normalize the conversation around mental health, individuals need to have a level of self-esteem to seek help when needed, and that takes time to develop. I'm guilty of it as well. I won't always go out and seek help. I'll kind of pack all my problems in till they explode, and that's wrong.
That's
I know I
right.
can't do that. I need to go out and speak to people, gain new perspectives, new
Right.
insights on
Right.
certain problems. And
Yep, but don't ever forget. You can't always trust everyone, right? There are people below you that like if someone isn't where you want to be in life, I don't really consider taking majority of your advice from them. There are people who have learned a lot, have a lot more wisdom than you and I don't mind getting information and knowledge, right, from them. At the end of the day, you gotta feel it out. You gotta trust your intuition, trust your gut. You know, you gotta trust, not to repeat mistakes again and again. You know, cut out bad habits and all of that. Yeah. So, anyways, it was a pleasure having me on your podcast, Yash. I hope we could do it again. Um, I hope I hope this helps people out there, and yeah, it was an absolute pleasure.
thank you, Ahmed, for coming on the podcast. I really appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for your time
Sweet.
and all your insights, your
Thank you.
perspectives.
You're welcome. Anytime. And anyone out there, if you ever see us outside, come and speak to us. We have no problem. We can't. This whole world is not meant to judge each other. We're meant to live by one another and help one another.
Trying to create a judgment-free space and
course.
tell everyone from our experiences.
Of course.
That's all I'm sure same thing for both of us. We can only speak from our experiences.
Of course. Of course.
So thank you very much, guys, if you've stayed here with us till the end, and we'll join us back for our next podcast. Thank you, guys.
Peace.